Archaeologists in Israel have discovered a stone tablet that somewhat resembles a description in the Old Testament that played a role in the story of the Ark of the Covenant. This is as reported in an Israeli newspaper. A 3,100-year-old temple uncovered near Jerusalem in the ancient settlement of Beth Shemesh has been under excavation since 2012. And workers at the site recently found a stone tablet that might be linked to the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is a gold chest believed to have carried the stone tablet engraved with the 10 Commandments received by Moses in Mount Sinai. Tel Aviv University archaeologist Zivi Lederman, who is leading the Beth Shemesh dig alongside his colleague Shlomo Benyumovich from the Tel Aviv University, told Haaretz the find could align with the biblical narrative. The structure being excavated dates back to the 12th century BC and is a perfect square over 9 yards or about 8.5 meters long. There is a lot of evidence that this was indeed a temple, Benyumovich told Haaretz. When you look at the structure and its contents, it is very clear that this is not a standard domestic space but something special. The archaeologists believe the building was destroyed in the mid-12th century BC and converted into an animal pen. The archaeologists also discovered that the building was covered in ancient animal faces. Lederman is quoted to have said, "To me, this is an act of hostility and intentional desecration of the holy place." Lederman suggested that the Philistines could have been responsible for destroying the temple, as their closest settlement was just about 7.6 yards or 7 kilometers away. Evidence also suggests that Beth Shemesh was a border town that was conquered, destroyed, and rebuilt multiple times. Inside the temple structure, archaeologists found a stone tablet resting horizontally on 2 smaller rocks. Lederman was quoted to have said, "At the beginning, we thought it was a mastaba that had fallen over, but soon we realized it was meant to be a table." Lederman further explained that the object fit the profile of a large stone described in the Old Testament's book of 1 Samuel, where the Ark of the Covenant rested when it was brought to Beth Shemesh after being recovered from the Philistines who captured the Ark in battle. The passage from 1 Samuel chapter 6 from verse 13 to 15 states that the people of Beth Shemesh were reaping their harvest in the valley when they saw the ark being carted back and rejoiced. Then the cart came into the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh and stood there. A large stone was there. The biblical passage reads, "They split the wood of the cart and offered the cows as burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the chest that was with it, in which were the articles of gold, and put them on the large stone." The biblical account goes on to explain how God struck down the residents of the town who looked inside the ark. The ark was then taken to Kiryat Yearim for 20 years before it was taken by King David to Jerusalem. As Lederman notes, it is almost impossible to prove that the Ark of the Covenant ever sat on the stone tablet he and his colleague discovered. He also noted that there seemed to be inconsistencies between the biblical accounts and the stone discovered in Beth Shemesh. One discrepancy he noted was that the stone was supposed to be located in a field in a valley, not inside the temple. It is not easy, he said, to unpack all the twists and turns of the story that ended up in the Bible and figure out what people remembered, what was historical, and what was added later. But the archaeologists believe the discovery suggests the author of the Ark of the Covenant account hundreds of years later was aware that the large stone in Beth Shemesh held some cultural function as a focus of worship and incorporated it into the biblical account. Benyumovich admitted that most scholars believe the Bible is not a historical document, but rather an ideological one. He asserted that the author's inclusion of the large stone in 1 Samuel might have been to make the Ark of the Covenant story more realistic. Archaeologist Israel Fine-Kinston told Haaretz that he is skeptical about the possibility that the find in Beth Shemesh could be linked to the Ark of the Covenant narrative. The Ark narrative depicts realities from the 8th century BC. Fine-Kinston said, "It is difficult to assume that a memory from the 12th century BC was preserved until the 8th century with no continuous writing tradition." Meanwhile, Avram Faust, a professor of archaeology at Bar Ilan University, told the newspaper that the findings in Beth Shemesh support the archaeologist's theory that there are very early traditions that made their way into the Bible. Faust warned that people shouldn't be so quick to dismiss that the stone tablet could have some connection to the Ark of the Covenant. It is an automatic and sometimes justified suspicion, but I don't think this is the case here, Faust said. This is a noticeable stone placed in a conspicuous position within what looks like a temple at sort of the right time. So, there are many dots that can connect this find to an old tradition that may have found its way into the biblical story. I don't know if they are right or wrong, but I think it should be examined further, he noted. This is not the first time in the last year that an archaeological discovery has been linked to the Ark of the Covenant. Earlier in the year, a man-made structure was discovered at a Catholic convent in central Israel that might have served as an ancient shrine to the Ark of the Covenant. Also, it was reported earlier this year that archaeologists digging in Kiryat Yearim might have discovered the biblical town of Emmaus, where Jesus was said to have appeared before two disciples after his resurrection. Fine-Kinston is among the archaeologists who led the study at Kiryat Yearim. Fine-Kinston and Thomas Romer have a good case archaeologically, geographically, and topographically. Benjamin Isaac, emeritus professor of ancient history from Tel Aviv University, had told Haaretz in September. However, it is a hypothesis and remains a hypothesis for now. Also recently, researchers say they have discovered evidence of the emergence of the biblical kingdom of Edom, which was previously considered by secular scholars to be mythical. What is your thought on this discovery? Kindly let us know in comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe and enable notification for more insightful videos like this. And for more ancient history stories or biblical archaeology stories, please check the playlist here. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.